Whenever I think about my favorite animated movies, no, my favorite movies, period, I think of movies with relatability, meaning, heart, style, and humor. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a movie that has a mix of all these aspects. It's a movie about believing in yourself and others, creativity, originality, encouragement, and triumph. So now, let's go back to where it all began. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was the first big break for Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They actually originally pitched an earlier version where Will Arnett was the star, and I mean, I can't even imagine his voice coming out of Flint.
I've made a huge mistake.
But their style is cemented in this movie, and you can really feel similar tones and themes in their other films that they've written or produced or directed as well. Cloudy was really the beginning of it all for them. And now, over a decade after its release, we can see its legacy. More stylized animated movies have been getting released and praised. The humor has been especially replicated in a lot of these projects. And Sony Animation really took off since Cloudy, along with Lord and Miller. And to talk more about how great this movie is, we can just go down the list. Score, fantastic. Whenever Mark Mothersbaugh is involved with Lord Miller, it's always a hit. Nay, anytime he shows up, it's a bop. The score just fits this movie so well that they even have Flint hum it at the beginning of the movie. It just perfectly captures the triumphant theme of the movie, and it also makes it very easy to transition from comedic scene to a more emotional one. And those emotional scenes, specifically my favorite scene in the whole movie, where Flint feels he's let everyone down after his machine created the spaghetti tornado. Okay, and let me just pause here to first say Tim Lockwood looks so funny in this frame, but also let me talk about Flint Lockwood as a character for a second. Flint is such a compelling character because he's an amazing creator, but most of his inventions don't turn out the way that he's exactly planned. But that doesn't stop him, and he just keeps creating with such an admirable tenacity. Now, surface level, it seems like Flint is a character who is self-motivated, self-driven, and someone who believes in his work, but we quickly find out that's not the case. He struggled with believing in himself because he feels like nobody else believes in him besides his mom, who is gone now. And he feels like his dad especially doesn't believe in him. Flint desperately wants to hear his dad say he's proud of him, or even that he believes in him. And in this movie, Flint's dad struggles with even understanding why Flint is the way he is and why he's even inventing things. It's sad because we see how much Flint's dad really cares for Flint. I mean, look at his smile when he opens Tim & Sons. But later in the movie, in the scene I was talking about, we see Flint's dad realize that this is who Flint is and will always be, and that he now believes in what he does and who he is because he loves him. And the emotions are just palpable. When Flint literally throws himself away, his dad was there to tell him, when it rains, you put on a coat. And then we see Flint look at his coat and his dad in disbelief, and then it quickly turns into his determination. Sometimes, even when we feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, all we might need is a little bit of encouragement from a loved one, and you can then be the best version of yourself. Now, okay, what about the funnies? They're great! Gosh, this movie is so good at knowing when to make dumb jokes and when to make smart jokes. Like, how this movie uses the same 5 models for every background character, just with a different skin tone and hair. There's also just so many physical gags that go unnoticed, like how the macaroni head guy isn't even facing the right way at the end of the movie. In almost every scene, you can notice something funny going on in the background. Or little things like Flint shaking in the scene. Or how he types like a Muppet. And the writing. I mean, we get awesome jokes like this one.
I, too, was a nerd.
2?
The performances really sell everything too. Bill Hader being a clear standout.
Great, bye. Meet me in the forest.
Nailed it.
Almost every time Flint is on screen and speaks, it's just a great time. He's just so quotable. My favorite one being,
I am so sorry. Are you okay? I didn't.
It's
get a
okay.
chance
It's just pain.
or how he announces everything that he's doing. And of course, the Flinchhammer scene, which had a hold on me as a kid. I mean, I could not get through this scene without laughing my ass off. And by the way, this scene is so funny to watch in other languages, like this one. Now, I'll admit, some of the humor isn't for me, like Baby Brent is sometimes funny, but sometimes not. I love Andy Samberg, but meh. And of course, the late 2000s internet humor has aged a bit. But to get back to why this movie is so good, there's just too much to talk about. I've talked a bit about the characters, but they're all great. Flint, Sam, Tim, Manny, Steve, the mayor, Earl. There's just so much to talk about for each character, but to start, the fantastic design for all of them, especially for Tim Lockwood. I mean, come on, how can you get any better than this? Or how Sam's beating the trope of girl takes off glasses and becomes a beauty and does the opposite of that. And I mean Earl, come on. Again, so quotable, and such a distinct character played perfectly by Mr. T. This movie just oozes originality and creativity. Every scene has something extra. Every color has an extra tint. Every character has an extra motion. It just goes above and beyond in almost every single way. The humor and emotion are felt throughout the whole film and culminate in a beautiful story at the end about the love of a father and a son. So yeah, needless to say, this is one of my favorite movies ever. And one of 5 animated movies specifically. Yeah, I'll get into those other 4 at another time. But for now, Algae Rhythm says to like and subscribe. Now Pete, send these hungry hippos to the end screen. Avocado!